It would be remiss of me not to ask you, since the Sahel region is investigating Ukraine for allegedly being in some of these regions in Africa with weapons, it would be remiss of me to ask you that, what do you think the African Union then would say about these actions by Kiev?
That's what they should do. The African Union should pronounce itself, as it were, that it's not going to allow that kind of conduct in the continent coming from Ukraine, and not leave it there. They must take it to the UN and to call for the condemning of the acts of Ukraine, because they are unacceptable. But they won't do it because they're in the pockets of these people.
So what would you say needs to reform in international institutions to literally be able to hold powerful figures to account, even given the fact that those instances, for example, where Barack Obama, you've accused him of allowing NATO in the instance of Libya.
Yeah.
Do you think that coming up with ways to reform these international institutions would still go back and be able to trace these figures in their involvement in these issues around the world? Do you think that it is possible?
It is possible. That's why we're calling for the transformation of the Security Council, so that it can bite. It can't be that people who have committed such serious crimes, it doesn't matter when, they are left untouched. I mean, the people who killed the Jews are still being arrested till today. You find a man who can't walk in a wheelchair being tried because he was part of the Hitler's military council that killed Jewish people. So if we can still do, if we can do it with the Jewish people, we must be able to do it with everyone, where people were killed in an unjustifiable manner, and Obama was responsible, Bush was responsible, and Tony Blair. We have a duty to follow them up for as long as they are still alive.
You have alluded to Mr. Vladimir Putin being in defense mode insofar as the developments there between it and Ukraine, that is Russia. Where do you think the line is of a state defending its national security and escalations of tension?
No, when you defend your territory, Putin has made it very clear. He said to the president of Ukraine, just make a simple pronouncement that you are not joining NATO. It's as simple as that. And the guy is not committing to that because, he's a comedian, he's a joke himself who was put there so that this agenda can be pursued. And when Russia says, okay, if you continue with this, we'll act in self-defense, as a way of pushback. And then Ukraine insists and even escalate. There's no way Russia is not going to escalate. If Ukraine escalates, especially with the kind of sophisticated weapons that they do not have, Russia is going to have to use its own sophisticated weapons to defend itself. And America is to be blamed because America is the one that is supplying Ukraine.
Talking about America, I want to go back to Donald Trump. You did speak about him earlier on. I want to ask you, what do you make of his impending second term in the White House, given his stance and the statements that he's made about Africa? Do you foresee any changes or weakening or strengthening of U.S. relations and Africa?
No, I expect continuation of the same U.S. attitude towards the world. The Republicans and the Democrats are the same. It's like saying to me, and Fidel Castro makes that point very clear, it's like saying to me, I must differentiate between the two shoes, one shoe of the same pair of shoes, and say this one is better than the other one, but it's the same pair of shoe, but with two different shoes. So America, whether Republicans or Democrats, the American interest supersedes any other interest. The difference is in the approach. Like I said to you, Trump is not a fanatic of war. is a man who believes that we can still achieve what we want to achieve through other means. And we're likely to see some form of a resolution in Ukraine and Russia, because he's got some respect, in fact, for Putin. We will see what's going to happen in the Middle East, because he has eaten a lot of Jewish money, so he may have a difficulty in taking a very clear stance when it comes to the support of Israel and all of that. But the only slightest, smallest thing is that the guy is not a fanatic of war. And that helps us, because that's what we want. We want a peaceful resolution. But America, even when it intervenes, it will not intervene in the best interest of anyone. It will find other methods and mechanisms to continue American agenda, even if it's not through war.
Let me move to the IMF and the World Bank and their influence within the economy of Africa. Do you think there are alternative financial institutions that can certainly help alleviate the economic dire condition of African states?
BRICS Bank must be strengthened. There must be more investment in the BRICS Bank. There must be more investment in alternative banks, because the IMF and the World Bank are not interested in building Africa. Their assistance to the African countries is to cripple them and say to them, you can't perform certain duties, you can't put money in this and that. And when you look at that, it is actually the things that you can't put money in, austerity measures, are things that are the primary responsibility of a state. And when they say you can't put money in these things and impose austerity measures, they are actually collapsing that state. They are not helping Africa at all. So I think that the more emphasis has to be made that banks such as BRICS Bank should be strengthened so that they can be able to help African countries and the countries all over the world that need our support. I mean, Cuba has got so much potential. It's under American embargo. And with a BRICS Bank, whether Cuba is a member or not, but with its progressive agenda, there should be a deliberate, agenda and intention to help Cuba to stand on its own against American embargo and still be able to survive.
Talking about BRICS, I want to leave that as a parting shot and ask you, where do you see BRICS in the next 10 years, and what kind of ideas would you say BRICS needs to continue unifying and becoming this global South power?
BRICS is an exciting alternative platform which is going to grow. In the last BRICS summit in Russia, more members have joined. We expect that there will be more others, because everybody embraces a platform where they can express themselves, where they will feel accommodated and welcomed. And that's where BRICS is. We have a situation where our people are able to exchange ideas and trade together. And there's even talks about coming with an alternative currency against the dollar and all of that. So it's an exciting development which we fully support. And we hope that we can have majority of the world being part of BRICS, and BRICS having learned from these other multinational bodies. What are their weaknesses? They don't repeat a similar mistake. They actually provide practical working alternative program. Yeah.
Mr. Malema, as I said before, you are a busy man, and we do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us on RT. Thank you so much for being here.